What is up, guys? Welcome to the All In Podcast with Bad Beat Bryce and Ryan the Rock. How you doing today, Ryan?
We're back for season 2, baby! Woo!
It's been a while. The break was definitely nice to kind of just focus on the grind and all the traveling. It was nice to not focus on it, but I'm definitely very happy to be back and very happy for the guests we're having on today. It's definitely a treat for you. And I'm excited for the podcast to come.
I'm genuinely curious because even I don't know the answer to this question. Where have you been in the last 2 months, Bryce?
Honestly, man, 2021 has been the biggest blur of my entire life. So much traveling, probably a little too much partying, no sleep. So I was in Florida for a while. I was in Miami, I was in Tampa, hit Washington. I've just been everywhere, man. And in Vegas, obviously. But before Vegas, I've got a wedding in Virginia for a good poker buddy. So I'm going to be out there in about 10 days. So that'll be good to see some of the boys, get a little home game going, and then out to Vegas for the series.
Dude, that's so exciting. So you have everything booked. Are you staying for the whole series?
I don't have everything booked. That's something that a responsible adult would do.
You better get on that, buddy.
Originally, I planned to live with 3 other people, and essentially that fell through partially because they don't want to come because of the World Series of Poker mandates. I don't think they're vaxxed, but also I think that they're under the belief that the player pool won't be as juicy. I believe it is their belief that the people who are vaccinated are probably more intelligent, their belief, than those who are not. So they're just skipping out this year because they just don't see it being that profitable for them personally. So anyways, I'll probably just at this point float between hotels because I get very good comps. Just stay in one for 5 days, another 5 days. So I do not have a solidified plan. We'll see what happens. What have you been up to these last few months, Ryan?
Yeah, so doing a lot of work with my mental game coach, Karim. Karim, we're going to get back on the podcast soon in a couple of weeks or so. We'll get him back on here for an interview. But that's been a lot of fun working on really the performance aspect of my game, because that was like the really big thing, adjusting from the comfort of playing at this desk at home to playing live poker. One of the biggest things that I struggled with was like just getting myself to feel comfortable. There's just a little bit of anxiety about being there with random people that you don't know, playing this game where, you're going to have to look like an idiot sometimes. And getting used to that took me a lot longer than I thought it would. But now I'm feeling much more comfortable. My last 3 sessions, I've been winning 35 big blinds an hour, which is just preposterous. But these people who play 1-2 are just so exploitable at the end of the day. And now I really got to give a shout out to our dear friend Bart Hansen from Crush Life Poker. His guide to exploiting small stakes, his podcast series, incredible. So cool to hear his thought process and how he breaks down why, because that was the real part that I struggled with. I was like, man, I know I should be making these adjustments, that I should be deviating from these charts that I've learned and spent so much time memorizing for online play, but I didn't really know when or why I should be doing it. And then, just hearing him say, you need to be opening and 3-betting more in position, and this is why these limping ranges are so weak. You can really attack them. Post-flop aggression, if you put in 2 barrels, they're fit or fold type of players, then they're just going to get out of your way, and you're just going to start printing money. That was a real thing that I was confused about. I was like, man, I thought how you made money in poker was making the best hand and getting value from it. But in reality, most of your win rate is derived from battling for the small and medium-sized pots, I think.
Absolutely. And I think a part of you knew that just from watching.
I think
all the hours. I think I don't just significantly run better than everyone in that online club. It comes down to just aggression and playing pots in position and all that stuff that you just mentioned. Also going to plug myself. We have a session, me and Poker Flops Bob tomorrow. If you want to join our Discord channel, hit me up. It's absolutely free going on right now. And tomorrow we're going on 1-2 gosh, I don't even remember. Dispelling 1-2 common myths. It's going to be mainly led by Bob this time. But yeah, definitely some interesting ones, like discussing how players are like, oh, I thought you missed your draw, so I bet. Just dissecting like these weird lines that you hear that people are dead serious on, and just explaining why their logic makes absolutely no sense. So that'll be an interesting workshop.
It is so fun to sit at 1-2 and like just hear the things that people say, because it is incredible. It's incredible. And like it's definitely helped me in adjusting to live play, because like a lot of times when there are like situations where somebody opens and then they flat a 3-bet, or like they limp call from earlier middle position, like I would really cap their range. Be like, all right, they can't have aces, kings, queens, ace, king, anything like that. These people are really out here limp calling ace, king, pre. And they think it's the
limp calling kings too. I mean,
limp calling kings. They're like,
you absolutely
under-repping myself.
Eliminate that at all. I definitely am not a massive advocate for the limping of aces and kings, but obviously, like if you're having a mixed bounce strategy, it's fine. But also, I find that in these smaller stakes, you're not getting 3-bet at nearly a high enough frequency for it to be profitable. So these players are really just pot controlling pots where they want to put money in the pot. Like, yeah, you might be a little trappy, but like your opponent has to have, like, if they flop like top pair, top kicker, yeah, good job, your overpair is getting paid. But other than that, you're probably getting one street of value max, and like, good job. Like,
and that's been one of the really key things about like sizing up in position when you're, opening or 3-betting or something, is that because most of the field at live 1-2 hates when pressure is applied. They're type passive to the degree that they want you to, bet 1/3 pot, call, bet 1/3 pot, call. Like, how many times do you see that line carried out in 1-2, 1-3?
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've
bet $25, $25, all 3 streets, and you're looking at these people like they have lobsters growing out of their ears. But in reality, they think that's the right play. They think that's the wave, and that's how they're supposed to get value. But it's like,
and they think you're a maniac who hates money if you're opening pots every single hand to $15-$20. Like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Yeah,
it's
like
amazing.
25. Like, did you? I cannot tell you how many times since I've come back to 1-2 the people are like, did you lose your way on the way to the 2-5 table? And I'm like,
yeah,
no, man.
I don't want to
open to 15 or 20. Like, I'm gonna go big. I don't know what you want me to do.
Especially when these players are so inelastic at these lower stakes and they just want to see flops. Like, yeah, why would we not size up? We don't want to go 9 ways with our pocket nines. Like, no, thank you. But yeah, getting a little sidetracked, but I did just want to talk about the thing you said about Karim really quick, because I really have seen such a massive shift in your mental game. Not to call you out, but I remember Sam Clark Poker and I were kind of being jerks to you one day a few months ago, dissecting one of the hands you played live. And I think I didn't realize the gravity of like how much it had the potential to upset you, because I think like I make stupid mistakes, not stupid, but like unorthodox plays all the time that just do not work. And honestly, I love it. Like I chalk it up. Okay, that's image building. It didn't work this time. If it's not working over the long run, yeah, I got to cut that play out. But like otherwise, awesome. Let people think I'm a donkey. Like it's great. You're going to make mistakes. The best of the best make so many mistakes. I have the top respect for Doug Polk, but if you watched his recent Texas live stream, he did not play well. But he's still a significantly better player than me. He would sauce me heads up, and I'm aware of that. But players make mistakes, and I'm glad that Karim has absolutely helped you. And it seems like his course is fairly affordable. I think it's about $1,500 for 6 weeks, and he works with a lot of these top pros. So if you guys want to check him out, we'll put you in touch with him, and definitely looking forward to having him on the podcast as well soon.
I will say that, on the topic of mistake tilt, that like really the biggest adjustment for me in that was recognizing that mistake tilt was really what can derail sessions for me. It's like, making a bluff in a spot where even maybe it might be a questionably okay bluff. If I look at it and I think it's an error, I'll keep replaying that in my mind. And your brain is a machine, and it can only do so many things at one time. And if you're in a game like poker where there's so many variables that are going at once, if part of your brain is still thinking about that hand that occurred 15 minutes ago, you're gonna make a mistake in the next spot that you're seeing. It's gonna be a bet sizing. It's gonna be a you don't look at the stack. You're gonna miss one part of your process that's gonna derail your next hand and cause you to make more mistakes. So the real thing for me that Karim taught was like logic statements, being like, look, it happened, it is over. Whatever happened, happened. I cannot go back and change those things. So, all we can do now is do the best with the next hand that's put in front of us. And like
Absolutely.
that unbelievably sounds super simple, right? Like, but to be able to be at the table, miss a huge bluff, get called off, call the donkey, and then to actually be able to just calm down, take a second, and get back to your regular thought process is something that not a lot of people could do. And it takes work to get to that point.
Oh, 100%. I had massive mental game leaks, especially in the first year that I was playing poker fairly seriously. I'd be playing really well, have these winning sessions, like get 2 outed, punt 4 buy-ins. Like it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of discipline and a lot of time and just a lot of hours reading the Jared books, the mental game of pokers, like talking to people who have been through the ringer. Like you just have to have a strong mental game or you will never make it in poker. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you have a tilt problem, if you have a bankroll management problem, if you have a problem looking stupid in front of others, like problem in front of cameras, final tables, like that's just going to cost you so much in EV and it's just going to be tough on you mentally. So yeah, absolutely. If you have the opportunity to check out Karim or even buy Mental Game of Poker, something of that nature, it's definitely a good start. But yeah, without further ado, I think we should go ahead and introduce our fantastic guest for today. Ryan, would you do the honors?
Absolutely. So this week for our first guest of season 2, we have an absolute banger. Many of you have heard of Fausto Valdez from his appearances on Solve for Y's iconic show Poker Out Loud, where professionals play with headphones on, only turning the music off when it's their turn to talk through a spot. Starting out as a semi-professional poker player while working at a bank, Fausto fought back from a humbling $15,000 downswing to become one of the best deep stack, no-limit hold'em coaches in the industry. Be sure to check out his social media profiles and training site, blueprintpokercoaching.com, which will all be linked in the description below. Without further ado, let's welcome Fausto Valdez to the podcast.
What's going on, guys?
How's it going, man? Happy to have you.
Thank you. I like that intro. You guys did your homework. I like it.
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
Ryan is known for them. Absolutely.
That's awesome. I got a question. Where does Ryan the Rock name come from?
Wow, that's a really good question. So, like when we started this show, which was, good Lord, almost like a year and a half, a little bit more than a year and a half ago, yeah. Bryce was like, I have bad beat Bryce. Like, we have to come up with something for you. And he said Ryan the Rock, and we just went with it.
So were you really a type player or something?
Yes.
Yeah. I will say I didn't like you, for instance, you started from aggressive and Bryce started from aggressive and then had to tone it down. I started from ultra tight and risk averse to working my way to being more aggressive.
I knew I liked Bryce. All right, cool. I like you too.
Don't worry, we got the lag style going. Don't you worry.
Okay, so I'll get us kicked off with the questions here. You've said in the past that your greatest poker achievement was almost going broke from a $16,000 roll to just $800, then building back a roll to play poker professionally. Yep. What lessons did you learn in this $15K downswing that might help some of our viewers avoid the same fate? And how did you build up both your confidence and poker roll from the low point of under $1,000?
Well, this was a while ago, but basically what I remembered is that, as humans, when you get push comes to shove, you either run away or you fight back. And I always fight back. It's just in my nature, like when things get extreme. So in that case, when it's extreme, obviously, I had no choice but to buckle down. So I was doing good things that got me up to that point, and then eventually I took it too far, and it caught up with me. And I basically had to work out the details. So like with the theory and the concepts that I was doing was good up until a certain point until I took it too far. And that's when I learned like, okay, you know, like this is my range, this is my intention behind my range or my post flop play, but this is my baseline, you know, and then
Yeah.
from here I could deviate, you know, wider or more aggressive or tighter based on the situation. So I just learned how to like really work in the details behind the theory, and then things eventually clicked, and then, you know, worked out, and yeah, and now I'm here.
Do you think a lot of that was through the trial and error, or do you think a lot of it was also just hitting the lab and running it through solvers and all that stuff, or do you think it was mainly just through the live grind you kind of learned how to adjust properly?
Well, at first, when I was learning from my previous coach, I was took the concepts and then just trial and error, and I was still studying, but like more conceptually. And then, you know, when I caught up, I was like, all right, let me really dig in. So I went into the lab more, worked out the details, and then, you know, that's when I got like the mechanical aspect down more in detailed, so I could be more refined.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. My first question for you deals with your coaching. What do you think differentiates you and your coaching style from others? Jack Rafferty, one of your recent students, has talked very highly about you as a coach. What does a typical session look like per student, and how long have you been coaching for as well?
I've been coaching for basically like 5 years or so. Basically, when I went professionally, technically. And what I do is that I force you to explain things to me, right? So I don't want to tell you like just do this without reason. Like I need you to understand why we're doing something, even as something as simple as opening. There's a lot of things that go behind that, conceptually, and at least theoretically, as to why this range exists. Like why are we choosing these hands under the gun versus not? And when is it proper to add them back in or not add them back in, right? There's a lot of different variables and different ways to create strategies, and you need to understand why. So I have topics laid out already, in a curriculum that spans out 5 lessons. And then those topics, when I talk about them, I ask them, okay, do you even know what this is? So I know where you're at. If you do know what it is, it's like, okay, well, what is it? Tell me. And based on your response, I know where you're at. You know, you either don't know it, you're in between, or you're really good. And from there, I'll elaborate to the next step that's needed.
Makes sense.
That's really interesting. I like that, how it kind of adapts to the student based on how they can answer those questions.
Yeah, because if I just start talking out of my ass and you have no idea what the hell I'm saying, I'm throwing just a bunch of verbiage at you, you're just going to get lost. So
Yeah,
I need to know where you're at. And based on your response, I'm going to know, you know.
do you think any part of that was through the Solve for Why training? I know I haven't personally gone through it, but I know that Berkey, like first with students, just gives you like a 6-7 page doc with terms and literally it's just like read this, study this, know this inside and out. Do you think any part of
those guys are lucky now, because I didn't have that before. You know, I always say this to myself, like I had to learn how to learn from Berkey, because in the beginning stages of Solve for Why, we did a lot of like holistic thinking, and now they're way more detailed about how they present things and talk about things. So, you know, I've stuck around with them because it helped me back then, and you know, as they evolved, they've adapted and for the better, you know. So yeah, I've gotten that mindset from them. It's like, why the hell are we doing this? It's like, yeah, that's a good question. Why are we doing this, you know? And once you understand that, you learn how to adapt and plug in, play around with your strategy ultimately.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I've heard very good things, and if I'm ever too booked, I'll definitely shoot people your way.
Cool.
Awesome.
Ryan, you want to hit him with the next question?
Yeah. So you've said that you consider your poker specialty to be deep stack live cash games. What draws you to deep stack live cash as opposed to tournaments? Because I know you do dabble in tournaments. You've cashed in one, I think, this year, in July.
Yeah.
But, what draws you to it?
The options, man. The options are limited, like the playability post flop. So like,
right.
Like tournaments is very refined. I've actually been doing a lot of studying these past 2 months, like really heavily in tournaments, especially since I have a broken foot and I'm stuck home. And there's a lot of nuances pre-flop, but the concepts is easy to understand. And once you get it, like that, that's kind of it. With deep stack cash game, it's like there's also concepts pre and post, and it almost feels unlimited as to the lines and the options that you could do, you know. along with a variable short, medium, deep stack. Just line work and the hand choices, and like it gets very detailed post flop. So I'll say MTT is like crazy pre flop, a lot of variables and details.
Yeah.
But the fun is, I think, in cash and post flop, where like you have a flop, a turn, and a river to figure this thing out, man. So, and that pressure when you just go all in, man, and you got to think about like, do I want to stack off, man? You see,
You got to come to Texas, Fausto. Play those deep stacked, uncapped games. It's a good time.
Right.
Man, Texas is wild, man. Like I've seen a lot about Texas. I definitely need to go out there. I'll try to plan a trip after the series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely fun.
$10,000 stacks. It's crazy.
How you playing 1-3 with 10K? That's so absurd. Like,
it is, right? It's like, oh my goodness. Talk about deep stack cash game.
And that's a trap. The blinds is fake. It's like, because
right.
I'm sure when you have that much money in front of you, you're not opening like.
You're just opening to $40.
Yeah,
like just something.
It's
ridiculous.
like a fake undercover 510. Like, yeah.
Oh, 100%. But it's great action, absolutely. So are you based in LA? And I wanted to ask what the home game scene was like, what the game selection process is like, and how do you manage to get into bigger home games with having the professional image that you do?
That's a good question.
Okay, so there's like 3 questions in there. So the home game scene is absolutely fucking crazy out here. I don't know if I could curse here, but it's insane, man. Like,
you can curse.
I gotta keep it PG, but there's a like, okay, like Molly's game and all that stuff, like, like it's literally like that. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, with like the added like extra amenities of like, I guess, lingerie woman for like
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, for dinner,
and like drugs it's insane, man. Like, so. And then drinking, man, and like it's crazy. So at some points, like depending on the game you go, like it's borderline like a party game, like after a certain time, So like trying to play serious, like at a certain point, gets really hard, especially if you've been partaking like in drinking and stuff. So yeah, so that's that. Game selection, I don't really game select. I've always been an advocate for just figuring it out, because it's going to help you in the long run. So whether it is a home game or a casino game, like, just figure it out, man. There's a tough player to your left. Fucking sit there, man. Sit there and figure it out. Now, it's not the best for your bottom line at that moment, but it will help you in the long run, because if you could figure out how to play out of position versus a really aggressive guy, that's going to really help you in the long run. And if you just keep running away from it over and over, you're never going to learn. Sit there, take a punch, and figure it out, man. So
that's interesting.
I like that mentality.
Yeah. I can't, like, when you show up to a game and regs are shifting because of you, you got something going on. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I think, like, do you contest with game shifting if the game is like very passive? Because I mean, that's one of the things I set down in Connecticut, especially the player pool is on the older side. So, if I sit down at a table and there's 6 older gentlemen and I get through half an hour and I can just tell that there's not going to be an open raise for the next 3 hours, I think it's worth it to just get a table at that point.
That's like kind of my exception. If it's that bad where like you look across and fucking Crazy Joe and his buddies are there, like, okay, move over, go over there. But it has to be like egregiously bad, the game. That would be my exception. Because you do want action. You want the money to be alive. But the money is not alive. It's an issue. You can make the game alive. Like that's another thing. You can make bad games good through your actions.
Right.
But if you're pulling hair, like, it's like, all right, just switch, man.
Yeah. I was trying last night, and then I got berated by one of these older guys because someone called a bet on the turn, but he put one chip in, and he just muttered something under his breath. So I was like, did you say all in? And the guy was like, shut your mouth. You're not involved here. The dealer will deal with this. And I'm like, okay, man. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Goodbye.
And Bryce, you asked how to get into the games. Connections. If in my case, I had the opportunity to play 50, 100, backed through some people, and that was a fun time in the home games. And they had a business proposition. They're trying to make money. They heard I was good. I offered my services. We struck a deal, and we made it work for a few months.
Yeah, there
until I got
seems to be a
fired.
lot of backers in California, specifically for the home game scene. I've had offers just to like go out and play. I have not had the opportunity yet to play poker in California, but it seems like it's very juicy. So I definitely have to make my way out there soon.
I actually had to shift a lot and grow a lot in the last like 2 to 3 years when I moved to LA, because East Coast and West Coast poker is so different, man. West Coast people don't give a damn, man. They don't give a shit, man. Like, I think they're too rich out here, man. People just don't care, man.
That's good though.
Yeah, that's great.
Are people more respectful too? Like when they lose a huge pot, or if someone's being a jerk, or like, are people just nicer and chill and more party atmosphere and just whatever? It's just paper.
I think Cali as a whole is very chill. I think it's just a culture out here. When it comes to poker, if I had to compare, like, say 5-5 over here versus East Coast, I think 5-5 East Coast, you will hear more berating, and here it still exists, but like a mix, right? Like not always, And then you get to 5-10, like nobody cares. Like you get stacked, it's like, okay, man, next hand, Whereas in 5-10 East Coast, like it still might exist.
Still might be some drama depending on where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's especially true because the 5-10 games that exist out here in the East Coast, they only run on certain nights of the week, and they're generally run by the same group of guys. Like there's 6 dudes at that table who have been playing 5-10 there for a decade. And
right.
That's what they do.
So I'm kind of glad like I ended up moving to LA. It was partly because of that. So when I ended up playing bigger, like I have availability, and I'm glad I did because there's 5-10 games everywhere. And the East Coast is very sparse.
That's fair.
Exactly.
Well, so a fun fact about you that not many people will know is that you are a pretty avid paintballer, or at least you were a pretty avid paintballer. How did you get into paintball, and does paintball have any carryover into poker?
Yes and no. So this kind of shows my craziness, right? Like I used to do paintball. Like I used to do paintball competitively, specifically speedball, because there's a difference between the stereotypical one, like in the woods and you're crawling around. Like that's not the one I did. So I did speedball, is more competitive, is faster. And I got into that with my brother basically. When we were kids, we saw like some magazines or saw it on ESPN, similar to poker. We got intrigued, and we found the paintball field, the only one in Queens at that time. And we went over there, got jobs as volunteers basically, and then got into the scene and learned about it, practiced, got better, made a team, started competing, and that went on for like 10 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah. And then at some point I was trying to do it like professionally, and there's like a ranking system and everything, there's pro teams and everything, and I was trying to become professionally, but there's not a lot of money in it. And then second, it's very there's like a hierarchy system, like who knows what, like just like a company. So I kind of got tired of that, and at some point, like I'm in my mid-20s, like I got to do something else. So I just left it, and the team I was with at my last season like kind of killed it for me. So I said F it. And then I already had played poker before, and I was like, poker got introduced to me again in my life, and I'm like, you know what? Let me try this again. And I had my first live casino experience. And as soon as I did that, I just got hooked again. And then that's when poker came back in the picture. And there's a translate to poker. Yes and no. So competitively, yes. But competitively, poker is different. It's like trying hard in poker is like knowing how to stay calm. Where trying hard in sports, it's like, let's fucking bash this guy's face, And I had to learn how to like shift that trying hard, It's like try hard to stay calm. That's your trying hard in poker. Be zened out, be okay getting gutted for like the 5th time in a row, like just fold the hand, man. Say tap the table and say nice hand.
Oh man, Bryce and I both were athletes, and I think we could both agree with that we've seen people too who, as they like get into poker as athletes, especially the college age ones, when they would lose pots, they would just lose their minds. But it's because you focus on the winning aspect, because that's what you're trying to do as an athlete.
Our college star quarterback, had all the records, would get in these small like $50 games and lose $50 and just freak out.
Those out, yeah.
He was like the
This is
nicest
fun.
person you ever met in your life. I'd never seen him angry other than at a poker table.
Same.
And
like
I guess
nice Christian boy. Like
poker brings out the demons inside of you, man. If you have flaws, poker will like introduce you to them. Like
Yeah,
here you go. Here's your
It'll
friend.
eat you alive. It'll drive you crazy if you let it.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. So my next question for you is: you talk in an Instagram post about people who boast about being good players at the table, but never seem to back it up with results. Ryan and I see this all the time, especially at 1-2. What are some ways you identify the weak links at the table?
Their actions, their mannerism, how they carry themselves. All of that gives away a lot about your intention and character. So if you could figure that out, you could quickly assess where they're at mentally, and you can just strip down their strategy really quickly.
Yeah,
And that
find
comes with
myself looking
experience.
at their
Yeah.
hands a lot, like people's
like-
hands.
Like
I
if
feel
they're
like that
fidgety
gives
or
a lot
something.
away. Yeah, at 1-2, there's a lot of people that like just start shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
Their turn to ag post flop, and there's more than $50 in the pot. They just start shaking like a leaf. And
Yeah,
I feel like that's just a clear, immediate sign of inexperience.
Yeah, that adds to like their mannerism, like how they carry
Right.
themselves. Like like when you see a guy walk in with a backpack, puts it in the back, and like he's stoic and like very attentive. It's like, all right, this guy is at least trying. I don't know if he's good or not, but he's trying, right? He's very attentive. He might be a reg or not. He might be a weak reg or strong reg. Let's see what kind. And then through his action, his bet sizing, his actions, like all that stuff, you could like see, okay, he knows this much or lacks this.
Right.
And then you could start attacking whatever you find,
No, that makes a lot of sense.
So
So
the ones with tables is all the weaknesses everywhere. You just gotta find it and attack.
it is, and it's no two tables are exactly the same.
No, yeah.
And there are some tables where your ABC strategy that is going to be very, very good, and there are some tables where the strategy that and understand is not going to work, and you have to be ready to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I listened to your episode on the Red Chip Poker podcast from 5 years ago. Real blast from the past. And one of the things that in particular stood out to me was that at that point in time, you were working on one of the things we were talking about earlier, which was anxiety at the table. So I'm working with a mental game coach to try to work out that part of the process, not shake like a leaf when there's $50+ in the pot.
Yeah.
What are some strategies that you've implemented over the last 5 years that allow you to feel more comfortable at the table?
Really discovering myself and the reason why I'm doing this that doesn't involve monetary goals. So like really understanding like why we're doing this, like what are the aspects of the game that I really enjoy, and working out like worst and best case scenarios if things go well or don't, right? Like if you were to go broke tomorrow, like what's the worst case scenario, and best case scenario, work that out. And like, is this important for you or not in both aspects? And once you understand that, that will give you a hindsight as to whether you should care or not, along with just understanding the brain. The brain is wired to try to survive. Like I said earlier, we have a fight or flight response, and it's not like you can't fault your brain for that. We're just wired like that. So once you really understand that the brain is just going to go into survival instinct when things get very pressured, you understand now logically, okay, my instincts are just reacting. Like, let me calm it down. Right. And then it's like you calm it down and you try to insert logic in that scenario.
Yep.
That along with like, okay, what if I just go broke? I lose my role again. Like, what's going to happen? And if you're okay with that, it's like, okay, it's not so bad. And then the anxiety starts slowly going away.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. So
Yes. Yeah.
I'm curious, really curious, about the Poker Out Loud sessions. really fascinating. Bryce and I, from the minute we saw it, we were like, oh, man, if we could do something like that, that would be so cool.
Oh, I guarantee you, Ryan, I'll be on that show in the next year.
You think?
Yeah, you can apply. I know a bunch of people who got on who don't necessarily have the best credentials.
Yeah, that's cool. So it seemed almost strangely comfortable for you, and really for all of the people, to talk through these spots live right there. How was the experience being on the show? And would you recommend that players start doing something similar as an exercise in explaining the why of their strategy?
Yeah, it's easier for me because I explain all the time. Like I do a lot of coaching. I have a lot of students. So like me having to explain why I'm doing something is very comfortable for me. And I do recommend it for everybody. Like that's the reason why I started coaching, like is to indirectly teach myself, as well as help other people. Because when I have to explain something, I better know what the hell I'm talking about, and I've had a lot of people that have success, so like it's working, I was like, I have a rhyme and reason to my craziness. So yeah, going to the poker allowed thing, like I just felt very comfortable, and yeah, people should do it. It might feel weird at first, you're just talking to yourself, but you just sit there, like when you're studying, it's like, ask yourself, well, why am I doing this? Like try to explain it to yourself, and you're gonna find that like, oh shit, I don't really know this. Okay, well, you need to dig deeper. When your brain is like hesitating like that, like you're in a spot and you can't figure out why something, like what you should be doing, like that's your brain literally telling you, hey, I really don't know this spot as much, and if you're quick to give a response, like, okay, maybe you do know it, as long as you're not talking out of your ass. But yeah.
That's fair.
Well said. But yeah, I very much enjoy that series. And I very much have enjoyed when people are indecisive and like, I don't really know what to do here, so I'm just gonna call. Like they literally announce that that's what they're doing. I'm like, bro. Like,
at least that's way better than like trying to make up some shit.
Oh, I
like,
agree. 100%.
Yeah, if you don't know, you don't fucking know. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to figure it out. I think this is what's best. And most of the times, like when we speak, especially in poker, like nothing is 100% definite. Very few things.
Right.
So like we're just always like giving our best estimate, anyways, given theory and concepts and experience. Like we're just giving our best estimate. So it's like we could always be wrong at any given point.
100%. It's an art, not a science.
Yeah.
I think that makes the keyboard warriors all the more funny. You look at any vlogger, even the Crush Life poker things, people will, ridicule Bart for how he goes about constructing a line or breaking down how someone does something. And they're always default to that they believe that there are these absolutes in poker. And that's like, just not the case.
One of them, earlier you was talking with Bryce about like limping and stuff. And I started laughing because like, it's just taught like it's really bad, and like in general it is, but there are good dynamics where limping is really fucking good. It's just how you go about it and the strategy you create behind it, So you're gonna create like a capped, obvious, unprotected limping range. Yeah, you're gonna get fucking destroyed, but there's ways you could implement that, protect your limping, and actually make it a strategy. And people are just like, nah, it's fucking bad, like I read in chapter 2 in fucking some 97 book. Like, okay, man.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
And in tournament poker especially, there are way more instances where limping is all right, obviously, than in I mean, it just depends. But limping generally is not great, but if it's balanced, can definitely be profitable to your bottom line.
Yeah, it just depends on the dynamic also and the situation. Like there's always a situation in poker where there's a good and bad strategy. Always, you just got to figure out, like, understand the situation and understand, okay, this strategy is appropriate or not. I had one student come to me and explain to me a home game he was in, and I quickly realized, I'm like, yo, you need a limping strategy. The moment he did it, he just started blowing the fuck up and started becoming profitable. Like immediately. And then that was a one-off case because, again, it's rare. But once he told me, it was so obvious to me. And I'm like, do this. That was lesson one. And then he just like got hooked after that. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure he kept coming back. But yeah, even today, I was looking at comments on a TikTok that was recently posted on the Poker Flops TikTok, and it was a Queen Deuce 5 board where I was the pre-flop aggressor. And I bet I down bet the flop, and all the comments were like, "Oh my god, if you bet bigger on this flop, he would have folded. You would have taken it down." The turn was an ace and ended up having to fold or whatever. But like, I just couldn't believe the comments. They're like, "Why would you down bet that flop? Like, if you bet big, he just folds." I was like, first of all, I'm pretty sure he like had a set, and I would have lost more money. And second of all, like, this is the exact scenario where down betting makes sense. Like, it's just funny how different styles, how people have learned and been socialized in poker. It's just crazy how differently people view the game, and it's crazy.
That tells me how good poker still is.
Oh yeah. Well, the entire TikTok was everyone being like, "Bro, if you just bet like half pot, you win there." I was like, "Why would I do that though?"
Yeah, right. It's all right, man. Like, just don't say anything.
I responded.
When I'm sitting at like the 1-2 table and like I hear somebody just give somebody just a horrendous piece of advice, and it just I keep my mouth shut, but I sometimes find it really hard to not just be like, "Dude, like that's just not correct."
Don't educate them, man.
No, it's not. It doesn't behoove you.
Yeah,
and you never know how they're going to react to it either.
Oh, exactly. They might feel like you're talking down to them. I have one last important question before we go into this hand history segment, Fausto. This was submitted by one of our viewers. Why do you look so pissed off all the time?
Dude, it's my fucking New York face, man. I don't know. You gotta ask my mom, man. I swear, like, I just always had that phase, and people always think I'm mad, but like, I'm a really like genuine, like, at least I would like to think I'm a genuine nice guy. I could be an asshole if you tempt me, but like, I'm always like, I'm an open book, man. Whatever you want to ask me, you want to come say hi, I welcome it, man. I'm chilling. It's just my face, man. Hey, and if anything, it fits perfectly for poker, so whatever.
Right.
Oh, it absolutely does. Yeah.
Low key intimidating. I like it.
It's hard to it's hard to walk around and just be like, you know, like just smiling. Like, that's not normal. It doesn't feel normal to me, you know. Maybe in fucking Ohio or something, but not
New York. Not New York.
You walk around like that in New York, I think you're borderline asking for a fight. Like, why are you so happy, man? Like,
or they'll think you're like hitting on them or something. Like, why are you looking at me like that?
Why? What are you smirking about over there? It's like, you're gonna get punched, man. Like, nah, I can't be having that, you know.
But we very much appreciated having you on, Fausto. Hearing your thoughts and experiences, we definitely loved, and I'm sure our followers will enjoy as well. I'm excited to see you out in Vegas. I'm sure you're probably going. I'll definitely buy you a drink. But thanks again for your time, man. Any closing thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, you should absolutely check out blueprintpokercoaching.com. We will link it in the description, like I said. Be sure to click on it. Fausto is worth every penny. And we've heard it from not just, we've heard it from friends and people that we trust, that you're a fabulous coach and that you're worth every penny. And
that's right, man.
You've said it yourself. It's worth it to invest in yourself because you're showing up to these games anyway. You're going to play anyway. Why not be decent at it?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
That's an amazing thing, right? Why not be decent at it? It makes some logical sense. So,
especially if you care at some degree, like, invest in yourself, get better, and get paid, man, once in a while, man. Like, fuck. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to get better, like, we'll just collect more money, guys. Like, it's cool, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can come to the party Cali home games if you want fun. That's fine.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, thank you again, Fausto, and hope to see you shortly.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Have a good one, man.